In the previous lesson, we started to learn about methods, and we had an example, my method 1, which declares 3 variables and print 3 strings. Now we are going to continue learning about methods, and we have a second method called my method 2. Let's see what's inside this method. We see that this method is very similar to the my method 1, but there is a slightly difference. Here, before the name of the method, we see before my method 1 it says void, but before my method 2 it says string. The difference means that this method, my method 2, must return a value to the one who called this method, to the one who invoked this method. And the value must be of type string. If we would write here int, then the return value must be a value of type int. But here we wrote string, so it means that this method must return a value of type string. This method, my method 1, we wrote here void, means that this method do not return anything. This method do its job, declares a variables, print them to the screen, but do not return anything to the one who called this method, to the one who invoked this method. But this method, my method 2, it says here before the name of the method that this method is supposed to return a value of type string. So this line is wrong, because this line return 3. 3 is a number, it's a type int, so this is wrong. This will cause an error. This line return result is a string. Here we see that the result is a variable of type string. And this method is practically the same as my method 1, but a little bit different. Here we declare 3 variables and print 2 strings. Here we printed 3 strings, but here we print only the first 2 strings, and the third string, number 1 plus number 2 equals 8. Yeah, this 3 properties. This string we do not print here in this method. Instead, we declared a variable called result, which equals to this string, and at the end of the function, at the end of the method, we return this string to the one who called this method, to the one who invoked this method. Here we see in the method main how we invoking this method. My method 2. This, when we write this method name, it means that we are calling this method. We are telling the program to run the code that inside this method. So we are invoking this method. And as we know that this method is returning a value, and a value of type string, so that's why at the left side of the equal sign we wrote string str. We declared a variable named str of type string, and we are waiting for the method to complete its job, and at the end to return us a value into the variable called str. And of course, at the end of the method, we have this line return result, return any string, a string which is in this case result. So this str variable is awaiting to the method finished and is receiving the value that this method returns and gave us to the variable str. After that, this main method is continuing. We finished this line, we executed this line. Now we are going to the next line, console write line. when we are taking the value, the variable, the value inside str that we accepted from this method. Now it's inside variable str, and we are printing it to the string. We are printing str, whatever inside str, plus printed in main method. So if we will run this program, we're supposed to see that on the screen, number 1 plus number 2 equals 8, and printed in main method. Of course, this method is returning value, but we do not have to wait for this value. Here we are waiting for this value. We declare the variable str of type string. Of course, must be master type string because this method returning is string. But we decided to wait for the values that this method is returning. But we do not have to wait for this value. We can just write this program, the name of the method like this, to invoke this method, and we are not waiting to accept the value that this method is returning, not like here. So this method here will, of course, return a value, but this value goes away. Nobody is doing something with it. But here, yes, we are accepting this value and doing something, whatever we want with this. Let's run this program. Methods, our project, right click, debug, start new instance. And here we see these first two lines are from the method, my method 2. And this, the third line, is from the main method. We have got the value number 1 plus number 2 equals 8 from method 2 that gave us this value into the str variable, and after that we printed the str that we have got from this method and plus printed in main method. So now in this lesson we'll learn how a method can return a value to the one who invoked the method.